All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of whatever this is with Hawk. I am Hawk, your host. I'm recording this on Saturday, December 7th. It's early afternoon. So, yesterday, Friday, news broke that Nick Fuentes got arrested. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. We're going to talk about who this guy is. We're talking about why he got arrested. And then I'll fill you in a little bit on some history about him. So, Nick Fuentes is a 26-year-old kid. Immediately following the election in November, he was online. He was the one coining the phrase, "Your body, my choice." And he went off on a little rant wearing his MAGA hat, saying that men win again. Men control women's bodies now. Women always lose. Men always win. Your body, my choice. I control your bodies now. Needless to say, there were many people in the United States who found that to be upsetting. And that's really one of the main things that Nick Fuentes does. He's a shit disturber. You know, it's not super more complicated than that. He's just a shit disturber. In response to him saying that about women and girls in the United States, he got doxxed. He got doxxed across multiple social media platforms. His address was put out. His phone number was put out. Photos of his house were on social media and the internet all over the frickin' place. And it turns out he lives in the Chicago suburbs. And people started stopping by and calling him and, presumably telling him what an unmitigated piece of fucking garbage he is. So that started happening. And then, so that brings us to, I believe it was November 10th. Let me double check here. I think it was November 10th. A woman named Marla Rose, 57-year-old woman who lives in the same Chicago suburb as Nick Fuentes. She told cops after seeing Nick Fuentes online saying things in regards to women's rights, your body, my choice, she decided to drive by his property and film a video of the front of his house. She was standing out in front of his house, and by the way, yesterday the police report was released, so I read through the police report, so that's where I'm getting this information. She's standing out filming his house, and a passerby said, "Hey, you should go knock on the door and go talk to him." And so she did. She rang his doorbell. And she walked up and rang his doorbell. Fuentes responded to that by opening the door and allegedly immediately sprayed her in the face with pepper spray, pushed her with both hands on her upper body, causing her to fall backwards down the stairs and onto the concrete below. Fuentes then grabbed Marla Rose's phone and momentarily went inside his house before coming back out. The passerby who stuck around and spoke to the police said that after Fuentes sprayed Rose in the face with what she assumed to be pepper spray, pushed to the ground, then Fuentes grabbed her phone and threw it against the concrete floor surface. Marla Rose had been video recording with her phone when this happened. And she was able to turn that video over to police. A video shows Fuentes pointing an object at Marla Rose, who says, "Oh my God, what are you doing?" He can be heard saying, "Get the fuck out of here." And then her phone crashes to the ground and she goes flying backwards. Police responded and did not arrest Nick Fuentes on that day. But Marla Rose kept in touch with them, and she kept in touch with investigators. She informed them that she did want to press charges. And then several days ago, I think it was on November, hang on, I got the supplemental right here. November 25th, Marla Rose went to the police department of this suburb, met with an officer, completed a report, signed a complaint, and that got that ball rolling. The investigating officer thereafter contacted Nick Fuentes' attorney, and Nick Fuentes turned himself in on November 27th. He was booked. He was photographed. His mugshot was circulating around online yesterday, and he was booked with one count of Class A misdemeanor battery. And because it's a misdemeanor, he was released on his own recognizance. Yada yada yada. Weirdly, on November 25th, Marla Rose told police that a sealed envelope had been mailed to her home, and she was afraid to open it. The envelope, sent from Miami, Florida, by your Republican congressman, was opened by police and was found to contain several papers related to Donald Trump and Nick Fuentes and other memes. The envelope was placed in evidence for safekeeping. So, but the return addressee, your Republican congressman, why is that important? That's important because during his video rant following Election Day, Nick Fuentes said, "I'm your Republican congressman, women, and now I decide what you can and cannot do with your bodies." So he's one of these guys who says incredibly incendiary things like that. It's a mix between he does it for a reaction, and a lot of it he means. He means what he says. And, but it goes back to the fundamental misunderstanding that all of these people have regarding the First Amendment. The First Amendment allows me to say whatever I want to say. Well, that's not what the First Amendment says. The First Amendment says that the government cannot prevent you from speaking. That's what the First Amendment says. They believe they've got this warped version of the First Amendment in their heads, whereby they believe that they are free to say whatever they want and not suffer any societal or social consequences for saying horrible things. That's not what the First Amendment says. I'm reminded of a part. Oh, Jim, what's his name? The Australian comedian who did the rant a few years ago about the Second Amendment. And he was like, your First Amendment guarantees my right to say that your Second Amendment is fucking bullshit. And, the First Amendment doesn't come into play here. Nick Fuentes was speaking online, and there were people in the community who were upset with him. There was no governmental entity who tried to prevent him from speaking or punish him for his speech. So the First Amendment is in no way implicated in these circumstances. Now, some more context as to who Nick Fuentes actually is. He's a white supremacist, anti-Semitic leader, and he came to prominence over the last few years. He's, like I said, he's 26. He started college. I think he started at Boston University, and during his freshman year, he left Boston. So this would have been August of 2017 to travel to Charlottesville, Virginia, to the Unite the Right rally. If you remember that was the guys with tiki torches marching around saying Jews will not replace us. And then the following day, that Saturday, things got extremely violent. And one counter protester, whose name was Heather, was killed by that guy who rammed his car into the crowd and then backed up and took off. So Nick Fuentes attended that rally. Then he dropped out of college and really ramped up his YouTube presence. So he's like 18, 19 years old when this is happening. 19 years old, because he's 26 now. And it's like he grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. And one thing that I don't know is anything about him before he attended that Unite the Right rally. I don't know anything about his parents. I don't know anything about his upbringing. From everything that I've seen about the suburb that he grew up in, it's a nice place to live. You know, it's not crime ridden or anything like that. And, you know, but he did apparently defecate in his pants frequently when he was in high school, when he got nervous, talking to girls. That was reported by a woman who used to work with his mother. So pants shitting in high school is not something that is going to render a person to being a member of the popular crowd, nor is it going to make you popular with the ladies. And so, you know, he often praises Adolf Hitler, questions whether the Holocaust happened. He has called for a holy war against Jews and compared the 6 million killed by the Nazis to cookies being baked in an oven. He wants the United States government under authoritarian Catholic Taliban rule, not understanding the contradiction between those two words, and has been vocal about his disdain for women, Muslims, the LGBTQ community, and others. All I want is revenge against my enemies and a total Aryan victory. He's 26. He's 26 years old. Revenge against who? You grew up in the fucking suburbs, dude. You grew up in the suburbs and girls didn't like you because you used to shit your pants. Exactly who do you want revenge against? It's just bizarre, man. He since has basically become a neo-Nazi. He's hooked up with or linked with other neo-Nazi leaders, Identity Europa leader Patrick Casey. Let's see. Fuentes has fantasized about marrying a 16-year-old girl when he is older because, quote, that's right when the milk is good, unquote. And he has described himself as a proud incel who reportedly prohibits his followers from masturbating or having sex, among other directives that former members have described as cultish. Incel is short for involuntarily celibate, and there is a long history of incels latching onto white supremacist ideologies that provide them someone, often Jews, to blame for their lack of romantic success with women. Fuentes was also prominent in the Stop the Steal movement. He was at the Capitol on January 6, 2021. He was outside with a bullhorn. He didn't go inside or do anything. He was outside with a bullhorn reading Donald Trump's tweets to the crowd that day, and was instrumental in communicating to the crowd that Donald Trump had attacked Mike Pence, and that's when the chants of Hang Mike Pence started. Apparently, he holds an annual conference every year. And at his 2022 conference, it was attended by Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia and Representative Paul Gosar of Arizona. And in November of 2022, Fuentes dined at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump and Kanye West. So that gives you a little backstory on Nick Fuentes and why it is so fantastic that he was arrested and booked this week. And, you know, he fucked around the day after Election Day and saying the things that he said about women and women's rights to control their own bodies. And the last month has been a little bit of a finding out phase for him, which has been enjoyable for me to watch. So there you go. That's what happened with Nick Fuentes. That's this week. That's who he is. And we will, I'll keep you guys posted as his court case progresses. I think his next court appearance is on December 19th, if I'm not mistaken. So thank you for watching. Please stay tuned. And if you see this, please subscribe to our page. Leave some comments below. Even if you're a Trump supporter and you don't know how to spell and your comments are nasty, you are still welcome to leave comments below. I'll be able to spot those comments by your complete lack of understanding of the English language. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of your weekend, and I will talk to you guys soon. Thank you.